Okay, so picture this. You're totally swamped at work. Deadlines are like breathing down your neck, and you just know there's got to be a smarter way to handle all these like mind-numbing, repetitive tasks. The ones that just eat up all your time.
Oh, yeah, I feel that.
So that's exactly what we're diving into today, this open source project called GeniA that wants to be like your AI teammate living right there in your team Slack.
And what's really cool is that they're building Genius specifically for engineers. And it's not just about churning out code like some other AI tools we've seen.
Yeah, you're right. They actually say it straight up in their documentation. While ChatGPT and Copilot have garnered significant attention for their ability to assist with writing new code, as software engineers, we understand that coding is merely one aspect of our daily responsibilities, and AI presents many additional opportunities to minimize boilerplate, time wasters, and cross-team dependencies.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
It is, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds like they're really trying to get at those pain points we all feel as engineers, not just like the coding part.
Totally. And if you think about the bigger picture, we could be talking about saving a ton of time, like way fewer errors and just less frustration overall for engineering teams.
Okay, so let's talk more action.
Yeah.
What are some examples of how GeniA can actually help in a real-world situation?
Well, the documentation mentions some pretty impressive use cases. Like, imagine deploying with Argo, or how about troubleshooting those nightmare production incidents, the ones that make you want to pull your hair out.
Oh, yeah, I know those.
And get this, they're even using it to analyze security vulnerabilities. There's actually a demo video of Genia being used in a war room scenario during an outage.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
So we're talking about tasks that span different stages of the software development lifecycle. It's not just some niche tool for one specific thing.
Exactly, and there's more. Genia is designed to support that whole shift-left concept you hear about in DevOps, SecOps, you name it.
Okay, I think some of our listeners might not be familiar with shift left. Can you give us a quick breakdown?
Sure thing. So shift left basically means tackling things like security cost optimization and operational efficiency early on in the development process, instead of waiting until later when they become these massive headaches that cost a ton of money and time to fix.
So instead of like scrambling to fix a security flaw right before release, Genie could help you spot it while you're still designing the system.
Exactly. That could save so much time and stress.
And from a financial standpoint, imagine GeniA helping you optimize cloud resource usage right from the get-go. That could mean serious cost savings for your company.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm curious, what's the magic behind all of this? How is GeniA actually doing all this?
Well, at its core, it uses the power of the OpenAI API, which gives it some pretty advanced AI capabilities. But what's interesting is that it's also designed to work with a customizable set of tools.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. You can tailor it to your team's specific needs and workflows.
Exactly. And the installation seems pretty straightforward. A simple pip install and integration with your Slack. They've really focused on making it easy to get up and running.
And the documentation really emphasizes that it's built for production use, not just a fun experiment. That's a big deal for teams who need something reliable and robust.
Yeah, for sure. That production-ready focus really shows that the developers are serious about making Genia a practical tool that can actually help engineering teams in their day-to-day work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're back, and we've been talking about Genia, that cool AI teammate for engineers, and we've already seen some pretty impressive stuff like deploying with Argo, troubleshooting production incidents, and even analyzing security vulnerabilities.
And before we go any further, I just want to remind everyone we're talking about GeniA being right there in your team's Slack. So it's not like another tool you have to log into. It's built right into your everyday workflow.
That's a great point. It's about making AI really accessible and easy to use so it can actually be a part of how teams work, not just another thing they have to learn.
Exactly. And, one thing that really stood out to me from the documentation was this idea of GeniA, helping out with those dreaded production incidents.
Oh, yeah, those fire drills that we all love so much. Well, imagine instead of frantically digging through logs and trying to figure out what went wrong, Genie is there analyzing the situation in real time, pinpointing the root cause, and even suggesting potential solutions.
Okay, now that would be a game changer. I can already feel my stress level going down just thinking about it. But is that even realistic? I mean, can GeniA really handle that level of complexity?
Well, based on what they've said, they've used some pretty advanced AI techniques that allow Genia to analyze logs, correlate events, and even learn from past incidents to get better at diagnosing problems. It's not just about reacting to what's happening right now, but also anticipating potential problems before they even happen.
So instead of just putting out fires, GeniA could help us prevent them in the first place.
Exactly. It's about moving from a reactive to a proactive approach to system reliability engineering, which could drastically reduce downtime, improve overall system stability, and save everyone from those late-night scramble sessions.
Okay, but let's be real, even with all this amazing AI help, there's still going to be times when humans need to step in.
Right. Of course, GeniA is not meant to replace human expertise. It's meant to enhance it. Think of it like your super smart assistant that handles all those tedious, time-consuming tasks so you can focus on the higher level problem solving and the strategic thinking.
I like that a super smart assistant takes some of the pressure off knowing you've got Genie there to back you up.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the practical stuff.
Mhm.
How easy is it to actually integrate GeniA into an existing workflow?
From what I've seen in the documentation and user feedback, it seems like they've put a lot of effort into making onboarding as smooth as possible.
So it's not just for like AI wizards, anyone can figure it out.
They've designed Genie to be really intuitive and user-friendly, even for people who aren't AI experts. The installation is pretty simple, just a pip install, and the integration with Slack makes it easy to talk to GeniA using natural language commands. It's like having a chat with a coworker, except this coworker is a super-powered AI.
That sounds pretty user-friendly. And you mentioned earlier that GeniA is open source, right? What does that mean for users?
It's a huge advantage. Open source means that the community can contribute to its development, shaping its features and adapting it to their needs. It also creates transparency so users can see how Genie works and even customize it for their specific environment. This collaborative approach really drives innovation and ensures that Genia stays adaptable to the ever-changing demands of engineering.
So it's not just a static product, it's constantly evolving and getting better thanks to the community's input.
Exactly. And that makes Genia a future-proof solution. Speaking of the future, one thing they highlight in the documentation is an upcoming feature for granting temporary permissions.
Oh, that sounds interesting. How would that work?
So imagine you need access to a specific system or resource for a limited time to complete a task. Instead of going through a long and manual process, you could just ask Gina to give you temporary access. It would handle all the authentication and authorization, making sure you have the right permissions while keeping the system secure.
That sounds incredibly useful, especially in situations where you need quick access for something time sensitive. It would streamline so many processes.
And it would also minimize the risk of human error when granting and revoking permissions. Genia would keep track of everything, making sure access is only given when needed and automatically revoked once the task is done.
Okay, so we've covered a lot, from deploying applications to troubleshooting incidents and even managing permissions. But I feel like we're just scratching the surface of what Genie can do.
Absolutely. There's still so much to explore, especially when it comes to the future of this AI teammate and how it could impact the future of software development.
All right, so welcome back to the deep dive. We've been digging into all the cool stuff Genie can do, like automating deployments, helping with security, even granting temporary access. It's really kind of wild how much this AI teammate could potentially take off our plates.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it really is. And like we've been saying, it's not just about automating things for the sake of it. It's about like empowering engineers to focus on this stuff. They're really good at like solving tough problems, designing innovative solutions, and ultimately, building better software.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But with all this talk about AI and automation, some people might be wondering, you know, what does this even mean for the future of software development? Are we all going to be replaced by robots?
Yeah, that's the question everyone asks when we talk about AI. But it's important to remember that Genia and tools like it are designed to work with us, not replace us.
It's like that saying, work smarter, not harder. Genie could be a big part of that, especially for engineers.
For sure. Think about it. If Genia can handle all those repetitive, time-consuming tasks that bog us down, it frees up engineers to focus on the more creative, strategic parts of their work. The stuff that really needs human ingenuity and problem-solving skills, you know?
So instead of spending hours like debugging a tricky issue, you could be working on designing that next killer feature. That sounds pretty amazing to me.
And it's not just about individual engineers. Genia could totally transform entire teams and organizations. Imagine a world where development cycles are faster, errors are practically non-existent, and engineers are more engaged and productive.
It almost sounds too good to be true. But I guess that's the whole promise of AI, right? To help us reach new levels of efficiency and innovation.
Exactly. But of course, with any new tech, there are things to keep in mind. Like as Genia becomes more ingrained in our workflows, we need to make sure we understand how it's making decisions. Transparency is key.
That makes sense.
Oh,
We don't want to just blindly trust the AI without knowing the reasoning behind its actions.
right. And we also have to be aware of potential biases in the data GeniA is trained on. We need to make sure it's making fair and unbiased decisions, especially when it comes to things like security and access control.
So it's a balancing act. We want to embrace the power of AI, but also be aware of the potential downsides and take steps to avoid them.
Exactly. And it's a conversation we need to keep having as AI becomes more and more a part of our lives.
Well said. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Genia, I want to leave you with this thought. Don't be afraid to explore what AI can do. Tools like Genia have the potential to completely change the way we work and create, but it's on us to use them responsibly and ethically.
And remember, this is just the beginning. The world of AI is constantly changing, and who knows what incredible advancements are just around the corner.
It's definitely an exciting time to be an engineer. Yeah, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Genia. We'll be back next week with another fascinating topic, so make sure to tune in.